another review of Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 9, Episode 4, Steering into Scandal. If you're watching this, thank you. Also, if you're watching this, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. My mom just left. We had a really good weekend together. I'm really glad she could come up because she has to work on Thanksgiving. And so she came up here. She cooked me a good Thanksgiving dinner. We got to go see the Nutcracker Suite. That's with the music done by Duke Ellington and Billy Strayhorn. I mean, I really just have had a good weekend. All right. So anyway, let's get straight to the review. Destiny and Martell at the park. We already know it's going to be some foolishness when these two meet up because they both on some BS, okay? So I guess she met him at the park because when she goes over his house, he's half dressed in a bathrobe. And since she couldn't get a straight answer from Nelle on the trip about how she may have felt like they were together, I guess she figured she played it safe or it saved them both gas money. I don't know. So you know she was ready to trash Melody. I could feel it. So here we go. He said, well, I had the kids this week. Followed up immediately with my mama got him. What? He said, I needed a break. And don't get me wrong, I understand people need breaks from their kids. But when it comes to Martell, I'm like, from what? Don't tell me you building houses and having your kids. Because we already know that building a house stuff is just a waste of time. Anyway, so Destiny's father has apparently some spots on his liver or lungs. And he has to go to the cancer center or whatever. But prayers up for him. I don't play about stuff like that. I don't. This is a show and I, joke around on it, whatever. She said she's going to go to an herbalist. I hope that along with modern medicine, please don't trade out one for the other. Okay? Because I think that herbal stuff is great for the people that want it to an extent. But modern medicine, even though black people have nearly every reason on this planet, okay, to not trust doctors because they have betrayed any ounce of trust from slavery till now, okay? Herbs alone won't do it though, all right? But the fact that she's taking him to the cancer center probably means he's getting support. But that's just a little PSA. All right, also, Destiny, I totally understand about cancer or possibility of cancer and being in pain for a parent. Destiny, I am telling you this because you need to hear this, and I want to separate that because I understand that pain. Destiny, you try way too hard to keep things in because you always look like, whenever you say, yeah, I'm moving forward, I'm moving ahead, you always look like you want to burst into tears. I see you because I see through it because I know what it is to try to be tough like that all the time. I know you can't let people see you sweat. I get it, okay? Because I don't like to let people see me sweat either. And I understand it. And honestly, I respect it because people usually use it against you to throw back at you. However, girl, you probably aren't letting it out in private either, which is why it always looks like you want to burst into tears. What you need is a good cry. Bad. Because you always on the verge of tears. Girl, just let it out. Dang. So apparently Destiny has moved to candles and body mist. That's news to me. I thought she was selling mesh wraps and hair lotion, but whatever. She said she has switched to Madani. It's 100% e-commerce now. I said, Mel has taught you well. Honestly, e-commerce is best for you since keeping the overhead and you having these relaunches and stuff. It's just not working. And this is where I also don't believe in this whole entrepreneur bit. Capitalism does not set everybody up to succeed based on business. There's a reason why you have like what appears to be an explosion of millionaires, but it's not a lot of them, right? It's because we, the people, pay the cost. Small businesses sometimes are successful, sometimes are not. But to me, there needs to be some kind of work that has more consistent pay, Destiny, so that you're not always trying to be like the owner of a business. That's my worry with this over pursuing entrepreneurship. People should be paid livable wages, and then people turn around and say, well, that's why you need to start your own business. You cannot just get capital out of nowhere, and certainly not coming up beginning January 2025. We don't know what we're going to deal with. So I'm just saying, and granted, jobs aren't safe either. Nobody's jobs are safe, but I'm talking about not having consistent employment. It just seems to me to be like, Not to mention, this show does not help you because I know I love scented candles. I am all here for eucalyptus mint stress relief, but I wouldn't really buy from you, Destiny, because I don't like what you sell or what you give. Anyway, so that's just my tidbit. It's just like, oh, Beyonce will probably be having a tour. I love Beyonce. I have seen Beyonce perform her last time with Destiny's Child, I Am Sasha Fierce, and Renaissance, because I didn't have that kind of money in graduate school. And I'm just going to be honest, I'm not really putting money away for no Beyonce concert coming up. I don't know what this economy is going to look like. And at the end of the day, Beyonce has hundreds of millions. I like you, but I dang sure I am not going into the poorhouse because of it. All right, moving on. All right. I went all the way out here. Anyway, so then like a good classic Love and Marriage Huntsville scene, her energy spins up so she can talk about Melody, okay? So she brings up the trip. She can't help herself, and neither can Martell. He's still obsessed with her. For y'all to dislike somebody, y'all spend so much time discussing her. Why not shoot scenes talking about all y'all's own stuff and icing Mel out? Like, just not even talking about her in your scenes to therefore demonstrate to the production team and maybe even possibly to the audience that the show doesn't need Mel. As whether Mel's around or not, she becomes the center of conversation. She is their scapegoat. She is their person to project their insecurities onto and take it all out on. That's who Melody is for them. So Mel will always be the center of this show. Y'all have not given us any other options. Okay, just saying. All right, and that's why y'all's businesses are lackluster and failing. That formula doesn't work. Anyway, so she brought up again how she said Mel was on the phone with his side chicks trying to teach her how to respectfully cheat. Destiny, first of all, you have taken the statement Mel had on that first episode of this show when they're at that dinner table, and she says, well, I do think there's a respectful way to cheat. Now, granted, what I think Mel was alluding to, although she didn't say it, so we got to deal with what we see. I think what she meant was not having, pouncing around town with your side chick. That's what I think she was referring to, but I can't say that. But even if, whatever, let's just say that she did. Let's just say that Martell's telling the truth. Even if she did want him to cheat respectfully, don't you think that's a conversation she would be having with Martell so they could keep up appearances? The side chick was not the only woman he cheated with. So her being on the phone telling the main side chick, who's not a wife, how to cheat is just ridiculous to me. Okay? And worry about you. Worry about you in LeBarrick's situation. Worry about you and Moses. You got a lot going on to be making these statements about Mel. Cut it. All right? So Martell is nodding along. Martell was nodding along, of course, because anything negative about Mel is something he nods along to. But something also told me as I watched him go, the impression I got was that he had forgotten the lie he had told Destiny. And he was still trying to catch the story up in his head. Anyway, yeah, but as long as it was negative, he was okay. Then he says, yeah, it was like she wanted me to go out and cheat so she could catch me doing something and be mad. Martell, what? The level of embarrassment that women endure from a man's infidelities is so hurtful. And it's hurtful because also the way we're socialized to somehow blame her for staying, as opposed to blaming him for the way he behaves with a wife and children that he should be providing and taking care of, not depending on Mel to take care of him and cheating on her. Anyway, that had to be the dumbest ongoing foolishness I have ever heard. Now, Destiny, then you say immediately, she started yelling at me, this, that, and the other. She did a hardcore never. She was very resolute in that. Now, once y'all did get into it, she did raise her voice, and you did imitate her voice well, I have to say. Nevertheless, though, that was later. And then you told Martell, you said, you know what? And you know what, Martell? The strange thing was, Destiny was like, after the fight at the dinner table, the weird part was she was so nice to me. And somebody please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, because I could be misremembering this, even though this Forever Trip, all we had to do was watch it. Did Mel not address Destiny the next day and tell her that she was not forgiving her for saying that her mother was pimping her out, told her she wasn't forgiving, and that was the next day after that happened. Destiny, stop. Just stop. Just stop. Okay, so Destiny brought up Trish, okay, because once again, we spend too much time on Destiny's business. She don't like it. So Destiny brought up Trish. Martell was like, why are y'all bringing up her name, this, that, and the other? And Destiny kind of looks and goes, because she's my trainer. See, she wasn't even going, well, she probably was going there. But Martell jumped to conclusions because he's guilty or something. But the good thing is, Martell, she's as much of a liar and cheater as you, so she gonna keep it secret. Or at least lie about it the way you do. So it may not come out until somebody else tells it. Anyway, Martell says it bothered him that people keep trying to make him and Trish a thing. Well, Destiny said, I mean, well, whenever y'all messed around, you were single. But she kind of said it in a question. And he was like, yeah, blah. And he was like, no, this was back when Mel was doing her thing. I said, stop. Just stop. You tore your family up. This woman, according to her timeline, gave you 5 years to figure it out, and you was doing that on and off narcissistic breadcrumbing and stuff. She figured you were doing the right thing, trying to make up for the marriage. I was still having fights. She tried to keep that marriage together. And the way I saw Mel crying on this show, anybody who's ever had their heart broken understand Mel was really hurt. Okay, so miss me. So saying that she cheated first and that's why you went out. Okay, apparently she encouraged the side chick to cheat, and then she's all mad about, like, it doesn't make any sense. Cut it. Okay? I don't believe you. And if that's why y'all got a divorce, then why didn't you file, Martell? Because we all know men don't deal with that the same way women do. Why were you holding on to the papers? Exactly. So then he manages to bring up Marceau and Maurice and says they're hypocritical. And they may be. I don't doubt that. But they're not divorced and going through it at the moment for cheating. And Martell, you act like a girl, like a teenage girl. Well, if I can't have this, I can't have Mel. They can't have their wives either. I'm going to try to ruin it. Them pick-me's that they got, you wasting your time, sir. All right, anyway. And if they did, what they did was way worse than you, tell us. Tell us what they did, Martell, or don't. See, I don't have time. And we know the difference for you is we know you're not really holding powerful and valuable information, because if you were, you would tell it, because you're not the kind of person who is like, I'll hold it to help them keep their stuff together. You're not that kind of person. There are some people like that who finally get mad and then just tell everything, but that's not you. Moving on, Nelle comes over to Mel's house. First mistake. So Nelle is coming over to talk to Mel directly about how she felt slighted on the trip. I said, if I hear one more thing about this trip, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Look, I just can't take it. How you felt slighted. Slighted how, Nelle? You have told us that y'all had more money than everybody on the cast, which is probably true. You should have gone back home. I don't care. We don't care. We tired of it. So first of all, we, the viewing audience, are so over this ridiculous trip, okay? And I don't ever want to hear about it again. Fly back home to Alabama and let Fletcher put up with your foolishness. So Mel started and said, I'm surprised to see you. Mel, don't act like, how are you surprised to see somebody you know you invited over your house for a TV scene? Anyway, she was like, you ain't talked to me. I said, here we go. Mel is launching into the foolishness. And trust me, we went all the way up into space. So Nelle seriously brought up that name tag foolishness. I was like, is she kidding me right now? Is she for real right now? Like, what? Girl, let it go. This is stupid. Then she said she felt like she should have had Sonny's room because she thought they were closer than that, but maybe not. Ma'am, you are out of order. This trip is over. Get off my screen. All right. Mel was like, well, you went off. She was like, yes, I did. And I'm just like, okay. So I told you we're launching. We're moving into space. Mel was like, look, I thought you would be okay with it because you're older than all of us. And Nelle had the nerve to say, allegedly older than all of you. Girl, bye. Cut it out. I mean, y'all be on wild stuff. If you don't want to feel old now, go and hang out with people older than you. This way, you can do your thing and be the youngest in the group. Now, I personally know I don't like to be reminded of getting older, even though that ain't gonna stop it. And turning 30 was very depressing for me. It was very depressing for me. I felt like a failure. I had, and I'm sharing this not to make it, well, I mean, it can be about me because it's my channel. But I'm sharing this because sometimes maybe other people feel this way, but maybe they don't. I finished my PhD in history by the time I was 27. I expected after that everything would fall into place. I expected to be married, have a house, be a university professor. But the job market was so bad in terms of professorships, I wasn't going to just take a lecture job. And it didn't come with health insurance or anything like that. And so I went to teach at which you all know is a private school or independent school, to ensure I had a job, to ensure I had health insurance. I could start building a career in something. Because I knew working, I wasn't going to sit around and try to be like starving artists. And a lot of people who finish their PhD do, because you're trained to only want to be a university professor. And so that was a real struggle for me. And I'm 36. I'll be 37 December 10th. And I'm probably not going to go out because my 35th birthday, and I told the story before, so I'm not going to get too far into it. One of my no longer friends really ruined it when I had gotten offered back my job in New York after leaving because I felt disrespected. And it was just, I showed her the email and I was like, I can't believe this. They asked me to come back and I've only been gone 2 months into the school year. But that was a real blessing for me. And it wasn't, and once again, I would never share that with somebody who didn't have anything going on or barely had something. I would never do that. And that's why it was really disappointing to me that she picked a fight after that. And I just, once you get away from it, you're able to process. But anyway, but I'm really working on this year going into 37, being grateful that God has let me live. Because I've learned some serious life lessons that I hope will be helpful to other people and, to my students, that I can help them out when they go through stuff. Because I thank God, things aren't as good maybe as I wanted them to be, aren't as good as I want them to be. But I thank God in heaven they are not as bad as they used to be. So I say that to say getting older is a blessing. How many times have I even just said on this channel, talking about people, they were too young to die? That's a shame. They were still young. So it's a blessing to still be able to make it. All right. So God willing, I'll make it to my 37th. So now, if you're going to expect the respect of an elder, how you're a mentor, this, that, and the other, you also have to recognize that you're older. See, you want your cake and eat it too, and that's not how it works. Okay. Anyway, then she started saying that she is a mentor and she has mentored Mel. Okay. Now, Mel and that high-pitched laugh and twirl. I said, dang, Mel, I'm not sure what hurt worse, your voice in my ear or that secondhand pain and embarrassment I felt for Nelle, knowing that you laughing and dancing it made a whole fool of her. Okay, because she wanted to talk and yap and thought, I guess that's her way of saying, well, Mel, you wouldn't be, and this is my translation, you wouldn't be where you are if I hadn't helped you. And that's not the way to be a friend. Mel, and she says, well, I did counsel you and Martell. And Mel said, yes, you did counsel me and Martell. Straight, no chaser. She didn't follow it up, but this, that, and the other. She did not say that. And I'm going to come back to that because that's not the way Nelle tells the story. How long are we going to hold this marriage and now divorce against Mel that you need to be bringing it up, that you did this for them, this, that, and the other? Mel said, first of all, I have a therapist and a mama, and most of all, my God that I can talk to. Okay? Those are my three go-to. I go to Jesus, my mama, and my therapist every week. Okay, so you cannot take everybody's advice. And I say that to say that you can only really go to people who love you and who you trust and who are professionally trained. So slow your roll. Okay, just slow your roll. A listening ear is not equivalent to a mentor all the time. Maybe a friend. But to me, a mentor is also somebody who guides you in the career that you're in, gives you advice so you can kind of make something of yourself. So whatever fake role you're trying to present to us, an image you're trying to project about who you're playing on this show, it's not working for me, Nelle. It's not working for me. Like, see, it's better when other people just say that about you as opposed to you always being the first person to say that. And quite frankly, Mel isn't the only person that has a problem with this. Nevertheless, Mel brought up an interview she did with some blogger. I don't know. Apparently, and I have no interest in catching up on this foolishness, so if y'all want to tell me something about it in the comments, that's fine. I'm not going back and looking at it. So she said Mel and Martell are the same. Mel can be stubborn and hard-headed. Nelle said, well, I may have said that, but she didn't say that they were the same. Nelle said, well, look, then I have to go back and see that interview. Mel said, I got you. I said, she was like, don't worry. She went and grabbed that phone. Mel already had that stuff pulled up on YouTube without the ads. Like, she was already ready. All she had to do was do her finger press. Anyway, Mel is mad that she said that the situation is draining. Now, Mel said, who's draining you? I said, oof. Mel, you've been stewing on this because that means Mel didn't bring that up during that trip. Nelle said, well, that's probably what I should have said, that Martell is more draining than you. Honestly, I think it was a total overreaction on Mel's part. It was an overreaction. I totally understand why you're hurt and bothered because you don't do what Martell does, and they always have your name in their mouths, and that can make somebody feel away. But honestly, I thought that clip was going to be a whole lot worse. And since Mel showed it, you know, I know some of y'all going to be like, no, in that interview, and it's fine. But I'm just saying, Mel, that's the clip Mel showed Nelle on TV. I think it's a bit of an overreaction. I really do. And honestly, Mel, Nelle isn't your friend the way maybe you even thought she was at one point, although I think you're getting that now. People who are older can get jealous of younger people too, just because when you were down and you hadn't made it as far as you've made it, and Mel has accomplished a lot, okay, in less than 40 years. There's some people that, because Mel's pretty, because Mel had 4 kids and is still snatched. She reminds me of my mother, because my mother had 5 and was still snatched. She never called it that, and she would never say that till this day, okay, because she's not that kind of person. But there are people who thought you were down for the count and are okay with it, and when you start to go up, they're not happy for you. I feel like that's what you're experiencing with Nelle. Even though everybody we see on this show that comes on through a friend of Mel turns on her. That's why she's so paranoid, but Mel, you still overreacted. Mel was very clear. She was like, you really hurt my feelings. She was like, well, if I did. She said, no, not if. You did. She said, next time, just talk about you and say no comment. And the bottom line is now, a lot of people have said you're not a mentor, including Tisha, including Kimmy. And Kimmy has made no bones about it. How she feels about you calling yourself a mentor to them like they are children or even wanted your guidance. She ain't the only one. Okay, so it is what it is. Maurice getting arrested for the DUI. Okay, so Mel lost her grandmother to a drunk driver. And I was like, oh. Yeah, that's tough. And to think about that kind of grief, it's hard for Mel to play that role of, you know, a black man shouldn't be locked up. I mean, that's pain, particularly with a grandmother that didn't have to come that way. So we gotta let both of them just kind of have a little space. All right, so why did they give us that melodramatic setup? Everything has played out on the blogs, okay? Maurice says the first person he called was his wife, Kimmy. Why did y'all ask that? Duh. Even if he was with somebody else. You know the wife is the one that always carries the burdens. Anyway, so Kimmy said she hadn't heard from him, and as a nurse, her first thought was hospital. Kimmy, come here. Miss me, okay? Miss me with the lies. Miss me with the defense you playing before the game gets too tough. Miss me, okay? The hospital would have called you as his wife, and as small as Huntsville is, they know he's your husband, okay? Just heck, the people alone who work there, all right? But his wallet and the stuff that he had, they would have called you, okay? So you know you thought he was with somebody else, but you, once again, you're going to play this game with us. How are you going to lecture Monster Maurice? But back to you, because this is about you. And this is the kind of foolishness at your big age that you're doing. I am not suggesting that people don't make mistakes. And a DUI, and no, people should not drink and drive. Yes, you should know to call an Uber. Yes, you should know to call a friend. But we have all made stupid mistakes. And I say stupid ones because we knew better when we did it. And somebody could have gotten hurt or killed. And so I get it. It is very serious. And you are, Maurice, I'm sure, made a mistake. This is your first time getting in trouble. I'm sorry, we have to give him some level of grace. At your big age, though, there is no reason for it. But at the same time, like I said, but I'm gonna need you to do better. All right, so Kimmy is dedicated to appearing like her and Maurice are a unit, and she has his back no matter what. Stop talking to him like everything is okay because it's on TV. Because that whole kitchen table scene was a mess. That caring listening you were performing and your high-pitched voice response says you're worried and embarrassed. She said she thought he had gone to work because typically sometimes he'll go to work late. Okay, then she said she stopped by the office to see maybe if he had fallen asleep at his office because he wasn't picking up his phone or whatever. So she said, well, that was weird when I didn't see you there. Is it weird or was it some BS? Because it's very hard for me to think, especially after the linebacker story and whatever else that has gone on in your marriage, that you didn't wonder where he was or who he was with. Did you call Marcel? Did you call all the 19 brothers he got? Like, you know what I mean? Like, did you call them? Because if you didn't, to me, it also says that there was a fear of embarrassment of where he actually might be. Or is it that you don't want to have to be embarrassed on TV the way Mel was season after season with you and Tisha's help by continuing to bring up Martell's infidelities even after they got divorced and while they were going through a painful divorce, even as y'all saw her cry and break down over and over again, and then try to put her in situations where Martell would be there knowing how painful that was for her? Is it because you're afraid of that? And I'm still on last week, Mel's statement where we as women, sometimes if we haven't gone through it, we don't know how to have compassion. That's BS. It's BS. You don't have to go through everything to have compassion for it. There are people who choose not to have compassion for situations. And that's not cool. All right? Kimmy is up here making excuses in the confessional, at the table, anything to cover this up. Maurice says he's already been convicted in the court of public opinion. Okay, well, you on a reality show. What you expect, Maurice? And you got caught around noon. That's the part that blows me. Oh, my goodness. Trisha and Ken, let's hurry up and get... They moved into a house about 6 months ago. Please don't bring them back. They are really, really boring. And I tried to give you a chance, Trish. I actually kind of liked you at the beginning. And I knew my feelings would change, but I at least thought, you would, y'all can't come back. He moved in with somebody's wife who can't even tell her who she was tipping around with when they weren't together. Anyway, they're having a party for their kids' graduations. Wonderful. Okay, whatever. They started talking about Maurice and his DUI. Okay. I mean, it's Huntsville. Ain't much going on. They said they don't want to get in anybody's business. They haven't known them that long. And I get that. Okay. So her son is graduating, Trisha's son, and Marquez said he needed gas money to make their son's graduation. So they gave him the money to do it. And then Marquez said to Ken, thank you for coming, like he wasn't the one who helped him. Marquez is saying to him, thank you for coming. I don't doubt that. And I know how Ken feels when after you've helped somebody, they make it try to seem like they're doing you a favor out of nowhere, all to cover up the fact that they needed help. Like, miss me. Okay, miss me. I mean, how much gas money did you need? You should have only called Trish. All right, anyway, so nevertheless, the situation is a mess. And it's a mess because Trish has allowed it to become one. Then Trisha cuts him off while he's talking about how he felt about that. And says all the things he says about me is making me mad because that's in public. But she made it about herself. And that tells me, or at least confirms for me, how selfish she is. And Ken Marquez isn't as much your problem as Trisha's behavior is. Okay? And I'm going to leave that there. So Chris and Nelle go to Fred Astaire's dance studio. They did not need it. Fletcher can dance and can move. That one little teacher was not helping. Him and Nelle are good on that front. So Nelle is walking around with a lace front geisha girl look in that leopard print shirt. Okay. She starts yelling. Oh, not yelling. Well, you know, every time she talks, it feels like she's yelling. But she starts telling him about how Mel was mad with her, about what she said. Nelle, you missed that part where you walked in telling her about your fourth grade complaint about somebody getting a better room than you. You forgot about that part. But anyway, Fletcher, why were you tripping when Mel said she has her therapist, her mother, and her God to talk to? Why was that like, you were like, what? Like you said it like she had done something wrong. Like, what's wrong with that? Anyway, and she did agree that y'all had counseled them. See, Nelle told that story. Counseling, mentoring, no, those things aren't the same thing. Okay? Because as a teacher, you become an unintentional, inadvertently mentor to a lot of kids. That is not the same as having professional training to counsel a human being psychologically. That is not the same thing. Okay? It's not. It's just not. Anyway, so y'all have no counseling licenses, and granted, I wouldn't necessarily hold that against people regularly, but in this case I am. So, and if you were counting favors now, all the things that you've done, everything that you were mentioning though was when her and Martell were married. Okay, let's talk about how Mel helped you by getting you on this show. You and Fletcher, so y'all can have even more money. You know what I mean? So like, and granted, also we TV, that flashback y'all had in the park with Mel crying beside Nelle was when Mel was saying to Nelle how she felt that they kept taking Martell's side and entertaining him and what had been going on and how it had hurt her. Nelle was not there to comfort her. Nelle was still carrying on with her foolishness. So I think y'all trying to make it seem like it was something that it wasn't really bothered me. Okay? She was meeting with her to check her again about Martell's stuff that they just keep letting go and encouraging one way or another. So counseling people doesn't involve that extraness, Nelle, so miss me. Mel is not the only person, like I said, who has a problem with you overplaying this mentor role or this appearance of a mentor on this show. Okay? Now, would y'all leave y'all's kids in Nelle's daycare? I know I ask this question a lot, but I really need answers. I don't have kids, but she is not somebody I would feel comfortable leaving my child with. Doesn't she seem like somebody who would be like having her smoke break with the kids while they were watching Sesame Street? Anyway, so Fletcher clearly tired of hearing about her trip and her complaint and just changes the subject and says, on another note, Maurice, we're not going to deal with us, but we're going to talk about other people. So he asked her how she feels because she got a lot of flack for saying she doesn't like to see or hear about a black man going to jail subsequently with this DUI arrest. I understand that sentiment. I really do now. And I know where it comes from. Honestly, since Nelle has had a child in trouble with the law, I actually do think it's a better instinct to have mercy and reserve judgment, certainly publicly, especially knowing that even though your son may have made a mistake and it was illegal and it was wrong, you would still want people to reserve their judgment and show him mercy. And I think that's actually a better instinct than being hypocritical and saying, oh, well, this, that, and the other, you better deal with the law. I had to deal with mine, this, that, and the other. I do think there is something better about that approach. I really do. I don't think at the extent when it comes to black women's lives, like in the Diddy situation or Kelly situation, which is different from this, but I'm just making a point. I don't begrudge her for that. I really don't. She did say that if you do the crime, you have to pay and deal with the consequences. Whatever. Okay. I don't disagree with that. Moving on. Mel goes to the community center to do her work, whatever, to help the community. And Shanita shows up. Shanita shows up from Atlanta, but none of the people from the cast show up. They're feeding people and giving back to the community. I said, well, dang, after Mel's free trip, y'all couldn't even just... Huntsville ain't that big. Y'all could have skipped over there. Anyway, so she mentions that only Shanita came to support her, but not the Scotts. And those are the kind of people she's not interested in being friends with. But y'all nevertheless had that long trip and them 4 scenes. Mel, after you gave that long speech about how y'all can come together, we knew it was BS, but now you really showing us. So Mel says she didn't reach out to the Scotts when she heard about the DUI because they haven't been good friends to her. I agree. And honestly, when that kind of tension is there, people have a tendency to be mad at you who already don't like you or made up their mind they don't like you, don't want to get along with you. They'll misinterpret anything you do when you reach out for them. Oh, she's just doing it to be nosy. Because that's their own paranoia. Honestly, they haven't been good friends to you. It's no sense of you even playing that role. And the way Kimmy is set up, the way Tisha is set up, the way them Scotts are set up, I get it. Anyway, she said the next day he was on social media with a bottle of alcohol in his hand. I remember. And I wasn't even looking for it. And she said they were all on the social media talking about how they were like, we told you he was getting out. We told you he was getting out. Free Reese, free Reese. She was like, that's ignorance. Straight ignorance. I said, Mel, I couldn't have summed it up any better. Because here y'all are supposed to be business people. He's a lawyer, and regardless of what kind of law he does, holding alcohol at a party after getting a DUI where you know there's going to be cameras and things like that and pictures taken, and it's not even like a private like family backyard cookout, still then I would say no. That's whack, and it's giving stupid. And we know Kimmy's gonna cover this up and try to pretend like, oh, Mel just wants everybody to be cheating because Martell was. Maybe, but it also looks like that. But I mean, the real concern is the DUI. And you know, every time Martell made a mistake, y'all was in Mel's face like she made the mistake. Telling Martell he's a good guy, and we just think he got in trouble. I just think you got into a whole lot of trouble because you really are a good guy, Martell. After he had called you a side chick and everything, Kimmy. That's all I got. Anyway, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to y'all soon.